Is that what they issue? I mean, I can live with that, just like I didn't know.
I'd like to call the January 11th Town Council meeting to order. Please stand, pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I do have one announcement. I wanted to thank the EMA Director, Heidi Rogers, for a great job during this past storm, and our new DPW Director, who was baptized by fire, being appointed, and I think they all did a nice job, so thank you very much. We have some people that would like to speak under public comment. Julia Palmetier.
If it's all right with you, I'd like to hold my comments on the executive session.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Helen Hardy?
Likewise, I can hold my comments.
Excuse me, Ms. Chair. Mrs. Chair,
Yes.
I'd also like to be able to, I didn't sign, may I still sign or is it too late?
No, it's fine.
Thank you. I don't even
Oh, you're
have.
speaking now?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you mind?
No, I misunderstood. Go right ahead.
The planning board of Providence meets once a month. We meet twice a month. A young guy like Sergio Spaziano, smart, able, has a job, has a family, and can come sporadically because we meet twice a month. 5.5 years, we're still working on a comprehensive plan, twice a month. We had 4 meetings, 2-hour meetings on commercial wind farms. And during that time, I tried to get the board to be polled because I knew there were at least 4, if not 5, votes not to allow commercial wind farms in Foster. If the board is polled, and there are 4 or 5 votes, the chair can then instruct the solicitor and the planner to build an ordinance that doesn't allow wind farms. There was a comment by Ms. Ryder, and it's not a negative comment, it was, I guess, just offhanded. We don't make a lot of progress on the planning board. Well, how could that be? We meet twice a month. All right? My letter has nothing to do, I don't know what's going to happen tonight, my letter has nothing to do with removing any person from the planning board. I'm on the planning board, and I want to make sure the town is not jeopardized by the things that happened there. That's all my letter's about.
Thank you. Moving on to the minutes of December 28th, 2017.
Make a motion to accept the minutes of December 28, 2017 as presented with the corrections.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to our payroll warrant.
Make a motion to accept payroll warrant number 25 in the amount of $34,649.98.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to payroll warrant number 26.
Making a motion to accept payroll warrant number 26 in the amount of $37,316.51.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to general warrant number 13.
Make a motion to accept general warrant number 13 in the amount of $27,921.34.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. I do want to note that the format is different on the payroll and on the general warrants, and I like them.
I do too.
I think that they're very informative, give us a lot more information, so thank you, Kelly.
Don't need glasses yet.
Moving on to new business, we have a request to use the town grounds for the Northern Rhode Island 4-H horse show.
I make a motion to accept the request from the Northern Rhode Island 4-H Horse Show on the date of
May 13th.
May 13, 2018, horse show, Sunday, May 2000. Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to a bid award for tree removal service. We have in front of us 2 bids with a recommendation from the former DPW director.
This time I make a motion to do a bid award for tree removal services to Malik Tree Service, as listed for amount either $125 a day, $1,000 an hour, $125.25 an hour, $1,000 a day, $2, and for $5,000 for a week with hourly 8-hour day and an 8-hour times 5 days per week, which was lower than, or close to the second bid.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
I believe this came about because a lot of complaints of dangerous trees and stuff that are actually out of the reach of DPW employees, where this would bring them down into a safe removable level, whereby our guys can handle it safely from there on down. And that's pretty much just getting them down. We'll be going in and doing the chipping, so, and the final removal from the safe line.
Any further?
Bob had originally stated that maybe you would want to say that it would be acceptable to use the second bidder if the first is not
Yes.
available, just
Yes,
because.
he has that in his recommendation. So, do you want to amend?
I will amend my motion to, if the original bidder is not available, and it gives us an option to use the second one as needed, as requested by the DPW director. That's the amendment.
Do I have a second on the
Second.
And any further discussion on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
No, I just wanted to speak on what the dangerous trees were, just to give you information. National Grid has come out twice and identified dangerous trees in the town. Is this those dangerous trees, or just to give you that information? They've paid for surveys twice and they still haven't recovered the trees.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Any further discussion on the amendment?
Does it, ma'am, does that mean that this is what they're gonna do? They're gonna come in and they're gonna go to the ones that were cited as dangerous and take care of them?
By the request of the DPW.
I don't have the other thing that you have there.
I don't either.
So
I
that's
don't
why
have anything
said-
other than what you have.
That's not.
If you look right on the top there, it does say,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It says right, this.
Yeah, okay.
that's what I
Oh, yeah, that's what
have.
I thought you had something else.
No, I don't
But-
get anything special.
Okay,
Okay?
okay, thank you.
So we've discussed the amendment any further? All right, all in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to the main motion. Any further discussion with the main motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to the appointment of the zoning board committee member.
I'll be recusing myself from this.
Okay. Mrs. Dillon has been very diligent on getting information out about openings on boards and whatnot. So we do have a request here from a Brian D. Capola, asking for a position on the zoning board.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Brian D. Capola to that position on the zoning board.
Second.
Any further discussion? Yes.
I just have a question. Obviously, this person is a relation to
have no
Mr.
idea.
Rogers, and that's why he has recused himself. And if I go along with that assumption, it would seem that we have a surplus of relatives of Mr. Rogers in positions in the town, and perhaps there are more people out there who might be willing to participate.
Thank you.
Denise, may I respond to that?
I don't think there's a need right at this time. Thank you, Heidi.
Okay.
I think it is, right now, at this time, we have somebody we've advertised several times, as you know, and we've got someone who's interested. So at this time, we have a motion, and it's been seconded.
Has the board had a chance to interview this person, the council?
I have no idea who he is, so, I don't think I know.
I haven't had the opportunity to speak with him. I mean, to meet him, but I did speak with him on the phone. Went over his experiences and what he has been doing, what he could possibly bring to the board with experience. I felt very comfortable with what
Well, I would think that where you have an appointment to a quasi-judicial board, which the zoning board is, that every council member should have an opportunity to talk to this person before a decision is made.
Thank you. Yes.
Right. I just wondered, the last person that you had appointed, Manny, he never even showed up at the first meeting. I'm hoping that this person will at least show up.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to the appointment to the to part-time zoning official. This has been something that I know I've been wanting for a while. We have a part-time official right now, Rhett. You want to say that public?
I do.
Bishop, Mr. Bishop, and he does a fine job, but he's not able to work as many hours as what we would like. So we do have money in our budget to hire a second person to pick up. Zoning is a very hot issue in this town, which I agree. There's a lot of things going on out there that I think we need addressed. So we thought about getting a part-time zoning official, and someone expressed an interest, and that's where we are tonight. So,
And yeah, you had mentioned that to me, and I do agree that we have some issues with some zoning issues in town that need to be addressed, and not having the ability with its amount of hours to do that leaves hours open. So I thought it would be a good idea to contact our neighboring town, Situate, and because it would be very difficult to hire an employee for just when we need it for zoning corrections and stuff like that. There may be months that we really don't need one, but then there may come times where we need them more. So the ability arose, and the thought was, I reached out to the fellow in town of Situate, which Mr. Horner is the zoning official in Situate, who handles all theirs, and I asked if he would be interested in working with the town of Forster to address some of ours in the field that he's in. And I think it's actually a fitting thing where it would be almost impossible to hire somebody where this would be an as-needed basis, and he would work under the direction of Rhett and take directions from Rhett. So I will make an appointment. I will make a motion for the appointment at this point, for the point of discussion, and Mr. Horner is here to answer any questions that we may have. So at this point, I would make a motion to appoint a part-time zoning official, Mr. Horner, to address the issues in the town of Forster. And that, then we can go over the concerns from here so we can hammer it out.
Second.
discussion, yes.
I'm all in favor of doing that. However, I would like us to be able to sit down and talk to Mr. Horner. Well, I wasn't prepared to do that tonight, so I'm not even sure what my questions are or where they're going. I wanted to look into it a little bit. And nothing against Mr. Horner, and I think it's great that he's willing to step in. I just don't feel comfortable voting on that position.
That's fine,
tonight.
I just wanted to get the discussion out.
I think that's
However, we
good.
would like to move forward, but he was comfortable enough to come tonight. If you had any questions tonight, and that may be the direction we would go, we could all work together, but if you have any questions, or he has any questions,
Well, good, then I would like to hear them right, but I just don't feel comfortable voting on it tonight, that's all.
what I did like to know is what is available, what hours, and how it works, and that's,
That position is budgeted for 24 hours. He generally works 12. So if you look at it that way, there's at least 10 hours to 12 hours each week.
that sometimes we may not need.
Sometimes you
So,
might not need it, sometimes you might work 15, but it would all work out.
so the unique part about this, I thought, was if we don't need Mr. Horner, we're not spending money on somebody in an office that is only available to work 10 to 12 hours a week. First of all, it'd be difficult to find somebody to work a 10-hour work week. And if there's nothing going on, we're paying that 10 to 12 hours, and we may just fill it up with clerical stuff to get them to do something. So I thought this was a unique way where we haven't grown to the point where, and because we have a great building official who can't do the 20-some odd hours, I thought this would be actually a tremendous way to utilize the expertise of a sitting zoning official in another town to help us out. And I just thought it was a thing good to bring forward.
Has Rhett been talked to and you'll be amenable to this?
I could just say one thing. Remember when we were doing the budget, we discussed that the planner had time, would do some of the zoning official work, maybe the letter writing and follow-up. But Juliana wasn't able to do it, and the current planner wasn't able to find the time in her schedule as well. So it was discussed previously that someone other than Rhett would do it, as long as they accounted to what they were, as to what they were doing to Rhett.
Mr. Horner?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Cheryl Laws. It's nice to meet you. Do you work full-time for the town?
No, ma'am, I do not. I work part-time for the town of Situate. I do probably work more hours some weeks when I don't have a lot of other work to do, then I probably do, but we all live in small towns and we do what we gotta do. So yes, I really work part-time over there. I try and do whatever I can do, and I'd be more than happy to help you all. If you all wanna sit and talk to me, I'm more than happy to sit and talk to whoever wants to ask me questions.
Are you the planner or are you?
No, ma'am, I'm only the zoning official.
The zoning, I'm the
Yes.
zoning official.
I'm the enforcement for the zoning board.
I'm sorry?
I'm the enforcement in my town for the zoning board.
Okay. Do you work a full-time job too?
I do. I work for myself.
You'd be able to fit us in if you were?
Yes, we can do that. I just negate some work sometimes and push it off a little bit to do other things. Some things are important. Some things have to be done. They cannot just get shrugged off. And I'll give you an example of issues I have in our area right now. The other week when you had that 3-tenement or 4-tenement fire in Providence, where the building official went down and he cited those people. I have issues in our town with people who are squatters, people who are living on places they shouldn't live. I can't have that, because that will cause the same problem that did. Building could catch fire, vacant houses catch fire, I can't leave that. I'm on top of things all the time.
Do you have certifications or what are your qualifications?
I've gone to school through the town of Situate. We're in the process of, I think next month, my administrative assistant and me are both going to another class. She's going to certain ones and I'm going to some other coding classes to learn some more things about things that go on. I've been to building course, I've been to all these things. So, and it's very helpful to have other zoning guys. In my position, you don't need like, certain people who do construction and stuff, you need certain licenses like we all have. My position, you don't need a license, you just need to be able to read the zoning book and enforce the rules that are there, right? I have legal counsel behind me to check with things, because certain things I'm a little sketchy on. So I check with legal about things before I go proceeding along. But things have to be taken care of. Things that go along for many years just fester problems.
Would you be able to work with Rhett?
We worked with Rhett because he was our building official in Situate for a few months. He filled in for us over there. So Rhett and I worked together before, so him and I get along very good. Right now I have Ben DeCenzi from the town of Johnston. He's our part-time building official, and him and I work together very well. There's certain things that I can't do because I'm not the building official. All right? He has more power than I have. I have power in certain avenues, but not those. So between two of us working together, we seem to get to the bottom of the issues that we have. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
1 second.
Yep.
And I've been looking for this since Mr. Bishop has been appointed because he could not be here. I've been wanting somebody, and Mr. Bishop and I spent some time looking for somebody, and we could not find anybody. So to have you is great. But as we're sitting here and I'm thinking, I'm not sure I'm at the point now, some other things have been, arose as we're listening to discussion. I agree with Cheryl, perhaps we need to wait.
Yeah, I just wanted to
and set-
facilitate
and-
this movement, because
Right.
things have festered long enough
Yes.
where they need to be
I
addressed.
agree, and I,
This was
I
the first step.
appreciate bringing it to the
Yeah.
yes,
front, but
I think that we need to meet again.
Yeah.
Perhaps Mr. Bishop can be there too,
Mm-hmm.
and so we can iron out things and then have an appointment at a later date.
Do you want to do that with one or two council members, so we don't have to have a meeting? I think you
Sure.
can handle that, and so,
Sure.
by all means, I've done my work, it's up to you
Mr.
now.
Dillon is the liaison for the building and zoning, and maybe Ms. Hawes, you'd like to be on it? So would you withdraw your motion?
I'll withdraw my second. And I will withdraw the motion.
Thank you, and then,
I just didn't know how to bring this about
Yes.
in a public light, because there's so many rumors out there that are so much untruth. This has been worked on for a couple of weeks with me, and I know the rumor mill's been going in a different direction, but this is what it was always about.
so then I would entertain a motion to have,
I will make a motion to have the liaison Mike Dillon and Cheryl Hawes, if you don't mind, Cheryl, and along with Brett Bishop, to meet with Mr. Horner to hammer out any concerns or questions on both sides, and then to come back to the council with a recommendation.
would, Joanna, would you want to be included in that as the assistant solicitor to the zoning board?
I can be.
So would you,
To include the assistant solicitor.
Chris, do I have a second
Second.
discussion? Mrs. Ryder?
I just want to say that as of yesterday, I spoke to Mr. Bishop yesterday, and he was under the impression
I'm
that,
sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I spoke to Mr. Bishop yesterday,
Yep,
and he was under the impression that Mr. Howell was going to have this position.
oh, that's nice, thank you. Mr. Savazio?
Yeah, this is a really needed thing. We have at least 6 items, that are.
I agree,
All right, and
that's why
I
we're bringing it
introduced
forward.
to the planning board and asked the solicitor to start to build a blight ordinance. This is what an extra person would do.
That is not on our
This-
agenda
I
tonight,
know,
thank you,
but this
Mr.
is
Savazio.
very needed.
Moving on to,
No, hold on.
yes,
Now, hold on. I got a question. Is Mr. Bishop only able to work XYZ hours a week? Is
yes,
that what it is? 10
Yes.
hours, 12 hours?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have a part-timer and a part-timer. If my math works, 2 part-timers equals a full-time zoning official. Well then,
No.
can this gentleman work more than 10 hours a week for the town of Foster and make Rhett the part-time guy? Because we can definitely use somebody for 20 hours a week better than someone for 10 hours a week and then go hire him for 10 hours. Can you see my point?
Yes.
If Rhett's only 10 hours a week, what good is a zoning official for 10 hours a week?
he's
pretty
a
effective.
building and zoning official, his title is building and zoning. We
Whatever.
have budgeted in our budget, we have for 24 hours. Mr.
Okay.
Bishop cannot work for 24
Can
hours.
this gentleman work more than 10 hours a week?
He cannot do building and zoning, he's not certified for
He's
it.
not building and zoning, he's
Oh,
only
so he
certified
just
for
could be
zoning.
enforcement?
Only
Just
zoning enforcement, no certificate.
All right, cool. Whatever.
Okay,
Can I
yes,
just ask a question?
Giddy up.
I don't know the answer to this. Does the town of Foster have a building zone, a border review
yes,
board? Okay.
yes. Okay, so I'll leave that up to you to set it up, and we need to take a vote, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Moving on, we have before us a, I'm not even sure how to pronounce it, a Scrivener's error made, Scrivener's error made on Danny's auction bond. So we have that before us.
How would I make that motion on that, just to,
Not just Joanna, I think that it just,
Do we have to read that other part? Do we have to read the, remember when we did our licensing, that paperwork that we read?
I'm not sure if you have to do that or not.
No.
You just said.
We don't have to read, that's what you're
Originally, we
giving
looked
him.
at it as a transfer,
Right. Right.
and it wasn't supposed to be a transfer.
It's supposed to be,
It was a
yeah.
license.
Mhm.
Just looking for direction.
No, you don't have to reread that. You can just make a motion.
Make a motion to accept,
The application?
Yes.
I make a motion to accept the application for Danny's Auction Barn LLC secondhand license, new versus transfer.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on, we have a resignation letter from the town planner in our packet. Cheryl Maynard, thank you.
Dated January 9th. Dear Forster Town Council, with this letter, I wish to inform you I am resigning from the position of town planner in the town of Forster. I regret any inconvenience that this may cause, and I will do my best to help with a smooth transition to a new planner. If you wish, I can continue with my responsibilities for the next few weeks. Thank you for your opportunity to work for the town of Forster. That, I would make a motion with regret to accept the letter from the planner, and by all means, open arms to have her continue on to help us with the transition. I actually spoke with her last night. I was somewhat shocked.
Second.
Discussion. I guess her last day would be January 31st.
She told me.
When I spoke to her. It was
So
January
did she
31st.
talk to you, Kelly?
Yes.
So you know why?
I never really said
Any further discussion?
Denise,
Yes. Yep.
I just want to thank Cheryl for her service. She was always honest and professional, and she implemented policies that none of the previous planners that I worked with had done. We were always, she notified us of all the applications within a timely manner to the zoning board and the planning board, so we were aware of what was going to be coming before us. She also worked with a volunteer to get all our GIS maps up to date at no cost to the town, which saved thousands and thousands of dollars. So I'd just like to thank her, and she'll be sorely missed.
Yes, she will. She certainly will. I found her extremely professional, even under very difficult times.
Somebody else.
Yes.
Hi, I just wanted to know, there seems to be a certain amount of, shall we say, not saying why the planner submitted her resignation. And I do think that that is important for the people of the town to know, and I was wondering if you could share that with us.
I can tell you what she told me, okay? She's having some medical issues, for one, and then the other is that the job requires more time than she's able to put into it, and more hours than what she's able to. As Kelly mentioned earlier, we have the option that she could work more hours. She just can't with her family obligations. So she felt at this time it would be best to move on. Mrs. Ryder.
This is 2 planners in 1 year, and it's 2 DPW directors in 1 year. There seems to be a problem, and perhaps if there is not enough time for a planner to complete the work, we need a full-time planner.
The hours were there, but she just wasn't working the amount of hours that were actually available.
She was not hired as a full-time.
No, but
No.
Okay, thank you. We have her letter here. She has resigned regretfully. We've had a motion to accept that. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Moving on, we have a charter amendment for the capital transfer.
Ms. Denise, the planner's position.
Oh, I skipped, I checked it off twice, sorry, thank you. The town planner position, since we do have the resignation, we do need to stop looking for a town planner. The last time we used, for the DPW, we used Indeed. Indeed, and that seems to work well.
There's also a planner's website, there's a.
Yes,
planner's-
there is a planner's website.
Or,
So I would entertain a motion.
We have to have a motion first.
Yes,
I would make a
please.
motion that we go out and use the same sources we did last time for the town planner and more if we could. Also, I'll wait for a second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Another question, is there an ability to find out if any of the second or third choices that were interviewed last time would still be available? Reach out to them if they are. If they don't see it going out again.
That would be, you know, I'm sure.
That's
Ms. Hodge, you have?
Yes. It's my
I'm sorry, we're having discussion here, so that you can, well, not while I'm going on, thank you. Not while I'm going on. I appreciate that, Mr. Renzi.
It's been my understanding from discussion with different people that what Ms. Ryder brought up is true, that there wasn't enough time in the week that we're paying the planner to be there. I know she had trouble being there that many hours, but from the previous planner, there's a lot more work that can be done. Is this the forum? Is this the time to discuss increasing hours?
It'd have to be in the budget hearing,
Right.
so when it's kind of an opportune time because budget season is
Right,
coming.
right.
So it might be something to look into in our budget.
Because I would like to suggest maybe we raise it to 30. I don't know. But I think that we certainly have enough work for that person to do.
So maybe during our budget hearings, that might be appropriate.
Madam Chair?
1 second, please. Any further discussion from the council? I would like to include in our advertisement, one of the things that were mentioned a couple of times with our previous advertisement for DPW, is that we did not say that we would require a BCI check. So I think we should include that we will want that, and that we have references. And that we require 3 letters of reference, I would say upon request would be fine. But those are the things that I would like, and I'm not sure if at this time we want to discuss who would be on the interview committee, but considering the short turnaround, I think that would be something, and I would like to include a member from the zoning board, a member from the planning board,
I think we did that last time.
right, right,
Kelly.
and the assistant solicitor, and Kelly would be. All right, and of course, all the council members. Now I'll entertain discussion. Mr. Renzi, did you have something you wanted to add?
You get it under control.
Great, thank you. Mr. Spazio.
If you, Ms. Ryder's correct, I'm gonna tell you, this town needs a full-time planner. There's so much work, there's grants that can be applied for, and I honestly think if you advertise this and we discuss this amongst yourselves, you ought to advertise right now with the budget you have part-time with the possibility of going full-time. I don't believe this would cost you more than another $25,000. So you should be apparent that you can't do the work the town needs done with this part-time job. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Yeah, something
Yes.
comes to my mind. The planner that's here now, she's only, well, she resigned, but the job requirements is 20 hours? How many?
24.
There were 24 hours.
24 hours.
We said that she could work up to 6 additional hours, and she can earn comp time for any hours over 24 that she needs to work.
In
Or
the new application that you're gonna put out there, is there a possibility of putting out there to let the person know there may be a full-time opportunity?
As
To
Mr.
let-
Spazio.
Yeah, but to let them know, because someone wants to come in part-time, then all of a sudden we got money for a full-time, and she says no, now we're back to square one, go find a full-timer.
I think, and I'm not sure of the legality of it, I would think that we'd advertise as a part-time, and during our interview, we would say that there's a possibility of going full-time.
Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now moving on to the charter amendment for capital transfer. If you recall, in November of 2016, during the election, we had, I think it was 15, 16? It was November.
No, how many teams were there?
I think it was 15 or 16 of them that were presented for the change in language for the charter review. presented by the Charter Review for the Charter. And one of them was the proposed language for financial procedures, the capital reserve, changing it from 2% of the total of overall appropriations to an equivalent of 4%. This is something that many of us on the present council and previous council felt strongly about. We felt that because there were so many being presented, and this was the last one, the 15 that people were just like at that point in time, no. So we had wanted to see whether we could bring it forward without having another charter review committee, because the charter review committee spent, and Mr. Savazio was the chair, they did a nice job and came up with spent a lot of time going through that. Unfortunately, we can. Oh, good.
It needs to be done at a special or financial town meeting if it's regarding. So,
We don't have to do it.
no, you don't need a committee.
Okay, so we can do it at our next financial town meeting? Okay. So, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, I'd like to also talk on this. I would make a motion that we move forward with, moving forward with a single charter amendment and present that at the future to the taxpayers to vote up or down.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, being involved with the budget for many years, and Kelly can also attest to this, speaking with the fire departments, the police department, the DPW on paving, it's crucial that the biggest benefit that this town receives for their dollars, in my personal opinion, and being involved in the budget, is a direct asset through the capital improvement program. And this is where we fix our buildings, we pave our roads, we buy our fire trucks, we buy our police cruisers, we do all the major infrastructure things, we tar our roads, we buy the DPW trucks, our plows. And this was set up many years ago, and it was set up by charter, that 2% of our total budget, including the school's budget, would be transferred into a capital improvement. And to a capital improvement, it has to have a life expectancy, I believe, of 5 years and exceed $10,000. Well, as time went on, we've made adjustments to all our budgets. And we have, at times, made adjustments. This has not kept up with our spending. So over time, we've tried to make adjustments in our budgets. And when we do that, the first time we get in trouble and we have to save money, we go into our budgets and reverse what we did. Now, this has been spoken many times. To get this back on track, we're paving less roads, we're buying smaller trucks instead of the bigger trucks because there's less to go around as the costs exceed. I really do believe that that needs to be readjusted to reflect where we are today, where future councils cannot, including this council or any other council, go and undo where something was done. And it's causing serious problems with how we work through our capital budget process. And you can talk to any DPW director, any police chief, any person that does the maintenance on these buildings. There is not enough money to go around. And with this correction, it would correct it, and it would not be able to be touched by any council to redirect funds in other areas. So I really do think it deserves a singular push with a singular discussion on the table to weigh the merits up and down. To me, I don't care if it's done in a financial town meeting or at a election time when we're elected with all the taxpayers have a vote. Because I barely believe I can argue the merits of this moving forward.
I'm sure you could.
So I really would like to see this readdressed, however we do it. That's why I asked.
And your motion says at a financial town meeting?
I don't. I said it to be addressed in the future.
Okay.
For I wanted us to figure out, do you want to do it at a financial town meeting where 100 people come out, or do you really want to do it in an election when you have several thousand people come out? And I think it's incumbent on the council, whichever one we do, that we present the facts. That I think some people took it as, oh, that's a slush fund. in reality, it's not. This is what really helps this town move forward. So we've finagled things too many times. We actually started, at one time it was a 2-year expenditure. If you don't do it within 2 years, the money goes back. So then we started, because fire trucks and such got so expensive, that we said, all right, if we stop the expenditure by the end of the second year, that gives us 3 years, because the trucks went from $250,000 to $450,000. To try and divvy the money up, we actually kind of finagled the language, which was to extend the 2 years to 3 years. Well, we're running out of that time now, and it has to be addressed. And I really do think, at an election year, where all the taxpayers can speak on it, but I think it's incumbent that we have a public forum on this so people understand what it's really for. Again, the capital money has to be approved for any expenditure at every single financial town meeting and specify what that money is for. We have many planning board members here that can attest to the challenge that they have when we bring these capital budgets forward in front of them to give from Peter or take from Paul. It's very, very difficult. And then it comes to the council to make further cuts. So I think it's incumbent on all of us that are involved to really get the voice out of what this budget does in the capital improvement.
Okay. Ms. Hawes, did you?
I agree with what
Okay.
you said
I
about
thought you had something.
financial, no.
Anyone else? Mrs. Ryder?
I just have a question. I'd like to know from the treasurer, this would, in all probability, result in an increase in taxes?
You may.
Yes.
So this is a way to raise taxes?
Okay?
Well,
No, I understand the whole premise behind it, but why not be upfront and say, yes, we have to raise taxes for the people in Foster, even though it's for a wonderful cause, and I 100%, we have to do our roads, we have to, but at least own the fact that you are suggesting that that the taxes in Foster be raised.
I do want to state that, we do already fund about 3.2% maybe for capital, even though we're only required to fund 2. So it's not as though we have a built-in 2% increase, because we funded $175,000, or we have in the last 2 years, towards capital above and beyond what our requirements are for 2%. So the difference in the taxation would be the difference of the 175 and the 2%. Also, it's earmarked specifically for that, and by doing it this way, we have had periods of time where a different council could be elected, or we could have a budget problem or a crisis where they would actually take that 175 that we've been earmarking for capital and use it for something else, where in the past, and it will look like you haven't gone up on your overall budget. And so the average person won't realize that this money that you've already earmarked in the past for capital has now been used to plug a hole somewhere else. And then next year what you do is you end up asking the taxpayer for the same increase again, over and over, and the reason is capital. And then they say, okay, well, we have to because it's for capital, not realizing that you've approved it twice already, and then they could have gone in and used that money for something else. So I think if you're talking about transparency, it is a more transparent method. Because in the past, that money has been used when a council did do that, another council did come in, and then they plugged a hole with it, and it was not transparent at all. Nobody even knew it. The taxes went up maybe $10,000 because they plugged a $130,000 or $200,000 hole with money from, I think, a school and also that capital money. So if we're going to speak about transparency, I really do think that this is a more transparent.
I'd like to add,
Right, it's still raising taxes.
Yes.
I'd like to add, there was actually a time where a council did not raise the taxes 1 penny, and actually had $100,000 to the negative that they could have sent back to the taxpayers in a tax cut. And what that council did was, they realized that there was an issue with capital then. So they took that extra $100,000 and they put it in capital. Now, if the following council, whether it was the same one or a different one, the following year had not raised the taxes at all, it would have been built into the budget, and it would have been done without a tax increase, And that single adjustment was a 33% increase in 1 year to the capital improvement above what was going in. If that was left alone, it would have already been built in, and it would have generated, since that happened, almost $700,000 by this date of additional money without raising the taxes a penny. But what happened was, it was not by charter, which means it could be undone. And here's where this is important by charter. So what happened, a council come in and they said, you know what? We think it's more important to have this, and it happened to be an operating budget increase. So they said, we don't have to put the 2%, more than the 2% in. There's an extra 100,000 we're already in. We're going to take this money and we're going to spend it over here. And because it wasn't done by the taxpayers saying, this is what we want, this is how it must be spent. So it can be done without raising taxes, and it's been proven to be done without raising taxes. But because it wasn't part of the charter, it was undone and used for something else.
And the same Canaan has been brought to by.
Mrs. Hardy, you had something to say.
The planning board has made a recommendation that this should be done for at least the last 5 years.
Yes.
Doing capital budget is just a charade,
Yes.
because there are all of these very worthy things that you have to balance. And it can't be done. It can't be done. And so we've made the recommendation year after year. I'm so pleased to hear. I thought that when, I understand now, you know, what the problem was, but I thought when something was designated for a capital expense that it did have to be spent for that, and I understand now why it might not have. But next week, we are going to have our capital budget hearings, and it will be the same thing all over again. It's just a charade.
And I know Mrs. Ryder has sat in enough budget hearings and workshops.
Oh,
to
no, I
know.
perfectly understand.
Yes, and to
However,
agree with
and
that.
this is why it is so important to not make your goal every single year to come in with no increase in taxes, although we would always all love that. But we have to take care of our infrastructure so that we don't end up with huge, gigantic capital projects down the road.
Thank you. So we have a motion, it's been seconded, it's been for future, so I would advise the council to think about whether you think it's best at a financial town meeting or at an
I think,
election.
well, we've always done it at financial town
The
meeting.
Constitution, the Rhode Island Constitution says that you have to do it at the financial
At the
town,
town
either the regular one or a special one.
So that's via a financial town.
Well, may I ask this question, why have we always done it during a ballot question? Charter change, this would be a charter
This
amendment.
is a charter amendment.
Those are all charter amendments we do.
The Constitution is pretty clear that if the amendment is involving a tax for or the expenditure of money shall be submitted at a special or regular financial town meeting.
So we've been doing it wrong.
It's always gone to the financial town meeting first anyway.
Not a charter
Not a
amendment.
charter
Not a charter amendment. Never.
No.
The other amendments.
Charter improvement, yes.
The other amendments should go in your general election, but this amendment.
Because of this financial issue. All right, so we'll rectify that, and we'll have the new proposal presented at a financial town meeting, so get everybody out to come.
Get some word for you. Get the word out.
Okay, so we have the motion, it's been seconded, no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to future agenda items. We have the financial statement and standards. Within your packet, we have, within your FYI portion, there is the resignation of our probate judge, so we're going to have this look to that. And we also have a letter from a union to open up negotiations. Is there anything
We're
else
gonna put
that's
on the zoning official
the zoning
And the
official?
planner.
and the planner.
And the
And the planner.
Thank you.
I don't know if this,
So. Do you have something else this month?
I looked at the brush. It's not as important as these other things. I've recently seen posts on social media, which I believe also got a letter. and dumping
Oh, the litter, yes,
the litter.
yes.
I've personally experienced, I mean, I read, you read the horror stories, and I've personally lived that stuff. I constantly have cans, bottles, Dunkin' Donuts cups, McDonald's bags, or whatever, at the end of my driveway. I've had mattresses and box springs dumped into my woods. I've had the debris, there was another, somebody mentioned
Chairs
landscape.
and, yes, so.
There's numerous things that are being done. We obviously have an ordinance.
Mhm.
Why should I even be talking about this?
No, but you can have it as a future agenda. item. So, you want to have a zone be on it?
We knew you were getting in, we.
Okay, for trash, but I agree that it, and as you're riding around, you're seeing more and more. Okay, so now
Together.
we have, and I'm going to ask the solicitor, we have an executive session, but it's been requested that it be in an open session. So we do not need to go into executive session at
We
this
don't.
time?
But I would
Ask,
yes,
am I passing this?
Mr. Carey, if he is, the request is still that it remain in open session.
Yes.
Then I would ask, I've had some conflicting information given to me, and I'm going to ask you as the solicitor, in open session, this discussion, the public can participate at the approval of Mr. Carey.
And for yourself,
And
once the
or-
council is done, if you, if it's at your pleasure.
It's at our pleasure whether people
If
from
you
the
would
public.
like to take public comment.
So, please jump in at any time if I'm violating anything, because this is a first for me. We received 2 letters regarding the planning board, in particular, the planning chair. So we requested that Mr. Carey be present for executive session. Generally, something like this takes place in executive session. The person that's being requested does have the option to state that he wants it or she wants it in open session. I did contact Mr. Carey prior to his receiving the letter because I just thought that it would be common courtesy. Also, the letter can be somewhat intimidating when you read it and it says, you know, that you've been summoned and you may bring a lawyer, et cetera, et cetera. So I thought that it would only be fair, as I've done in the past, to speak to Mr. Carey in regards to that. So, here we are. We have 2 letters. Can I say who the letters are from? Do they, if they want to come forward?
The actual complaints, yes. I think Mr. Carey, though, Joe, if you can come forward, just sit in the front.
No executive session.
It's no,
We just discussed.
Wow.
You wanted to see me.
Okay, so we have, as I said, we have 2 letters here addressed to the council in regards to the planning board and in particular, the planning chair. Yes, but the reason, yes, but the reason that this,
Okay.
Can I have a minute?
yes,
I haven't seen this before.
I haven't seen it before,
Read
either.
this side.
Because we just got those, and you told me to make
Just
copies.
got. So that's what I was trying to do,
Doesn't
was
it-
read it.
yes, go right ahead. Yes, yes, and there were, what is being discussed is that there were also letters of support from Mr. Carey. So those letters were within our packets, or we just gave them to us. So, Joanne, the two letters before us, should they be read, should they not be read? Is it,
I don't think you need to read them, but it's really your choice as to how you want to go forward, but I don't necessarily think you need to read them into the record.
we do not need to read them? Okay, thank you.
Okay, I just I'll stop this off for just a
Okay.
second. I received 2 verbal complaints from planning board members regarding the conduct of board members at meetings, both between themselves and towards applicants. Also, complaints were written and distributed to the council. You guys got the first, you got the second one's letters, the first letters on the first date.
I don't know the first letters.
Yeah, you got-
Oh, these right here?
Those that think about it.
Yes, okay, thank you.
The complaints question the ability to control the meetings as a chair. The complaints addressed all meetings, but did specifically reference a particular meeting in December. I've had the opportunity to listen to the recording, as well as spoke with the solicitor who was present, and it appears the meeting was out of hand. Specifically, members conduct towards applicants, telling expert witnesses that the documents are wrong or have errors. Members berating applicants. Members discussing matters beyond the scope of the board. Allowing continued discussions concerning an application after discussion had completed and applicant had left. Concerns regarding potential litigation of the meetings are not brought, if it's not brought under control. And my only question is, as chair, what do you feel you could do differently to address the concerns moving forward?
I mean, our meetings, I've been running the meetings for 3 years. I have never had a complaint filed against the planning board by an applicant or a citizen or any member of the community. We've never had any problems previous to the complainants being on the board who questioned everything we did. I can't even read an agenda item without him asking the solicitor a question. I mean, it's very difficult and it's a very hostile environment to work in. I will be more aggressive towards the members. We've always had a good crew and we always were civil to each other. So I didn't have to control the meetings to that extent, but if it got out of hand, we had a lot of very controversial meetings over the last few years, I'm sure you're aware of. And we've never had any meeting get out of control. I mean, there's some differences of opinion sometimes, but I think the questions are necessary. And even though some things are not within our purview as far as DEM, we are required to make sure that all of the guidelines and the checklist requirements are done by the applicants. So even though we don't make decisions on wetlands, we have to make sure that they get permits that are required and they understand that. And if it's in a pre-application meeting, it's a little different format. It's not a master plan or a public hearing where, you know, a pre-app is when they come in and basically give us the ideas that they're gonna bring forth or what they wanna do. And then if we see anything that we don't like at that point, they have time before they spend money to come forward to a master plan and do all their work. And then if we request changes at that time, it's a lot, you know, they've already invested a lot of money. So it's good to bring things out in a pre-app, so there were some conflicting materials that were given to the board at the meeting in question that didn't match what the applicant had presented that evening. So there was a lot of questions to their intent, and it was, I think, justified. There was some argument between members, disagreeing, but I don't think, it got out of hand to the point where, it had to come to this. I'm always available at all the town council meetings. Any one of you can speak to me at any time. If we wanted to sit down, I think this is a little above and beyond, as far as this procedure tonight, but, I'm here, so if you have any questions, feel free, but I will make sure the meetings are controlled in the future, so we don't have this problem again, hopefully.
Anyone else from the council? I do have something I would like to say. I've been attending the planning board meetings for several years. I've been the liaison to the planning board. And I know it's been out there that I am a friend of Mr. Carey's, which I am, but that does not influence the way I think he runs a meeting. There are times where I think it gets, I don't want to say out of hand, I think he handles it well, that there can be some aggressive behaviors by other members. There can be some buttons pushed by other members, and I think Mr. Carey has handled it professionally. And honestly, I think I would have been upset many times, but Mr. Carey handles it professionally. I agree with Mr. Carey. I think that this has blown up. I think that we, in the future, need to think about how we speak with or request information from board members and ask them to meet with us informally, not, and perhaps individually. Perhaps if we have concerns with any board member, we go and speak to them individually. That would be my one concern. I do want that in one of our letters that we received in regards to that, it does say that the election, there was, I guess, a question about the election of officers. And in the bylaws I have here for the Forster Planning Board bylaws that were revised on May 2nd, 2012, it does say election term on an annual basis each December. The members shall elect a chair, vice chair, and secretary from among its members. The terms of the elected officers shall be for 1 year following the calendar year. And then it goes on. But I understand that there was some discussion, and it was brought out when one of the letters we received. So it is in the bylaws. There was a quorum, a vote was taken. It stands as is, as far as I am concerned. Is there anybody else who would like to say something?
I'm unable to attend the planning meetings. I would like to, but I work another job, and I can't go. I do sometimes watch the meetings when I can see a video. And I've never seen Mr. Carey lose control like I would at some people. I agree with you, Denise. I think he conducts himself in a professional manner. I think he tries to accommodate maybe too many people at once, maybe, but if that's a fault, that's a good fault. He tries very hard. I applaud him for the time he gives. He comes to every council meeting. He's vested in this town. It shows. We have two new people on the board, and those two new people happen to be the writers of the letters. I think that speaks for itself, and I'm not going to say any more about it. I thank you for the job you do. I'm sorry it came to this point. I too believe that this got out of hand and it shouldn't have been handled this way. And I agree also with the chair that in the future, if something arises like this, that we look at it and we handle it a different way.
And I will say, lesson learned on my part.
Mine as well.
It was approached, I think I could have handled it differently, and for that, I apologize.
I want to just thank you and Denise for your comments. Like Mike, I understand you wanted to discuss this, but I
Do
think.
you understand why let me rephrase that. The discussion is, maybe we could handle this, I don't know, I guess behind the scenes, is that your?
Not necessarily, but if something is approached to us, perhaps we
That was-
approach
do
the
you-
individual
Now do you
members.
understand why I asked you, when I found out that you were gonna, you had said that you were gonna, wanted to have this in open, you understand why I asked you or recommended to do it in closed? Because
I just feel
because
that,
of this, because I did,
well, I think that everybody's gonna be asking questions about what happened, and I'd rather just let them witness it for themselves, and I don't wanna have to tell the same thing to everybody over and over and over again. I have nothing to hide, I do my job, I'm volunteering in this
we all know
town,
you're a good guy.
and I just try
That's
to
okay.
be fair, and sometimes I'm not as aggressive as I should be, because I'm not mean-spirited, I don't like to yell at people, and it's hard, to be, and I don't wanna get to the point where I get so mad that I say something I shouldn't. So I try to be, professional and.
I would like to say one more thing. I understand why you brought this. You were approached and you should bring it out and bring it forward. So I understand why he had to do what he did and you did it. I'm not condemning you for that at all. I don't want you to think that. When somebody approaches us, we need to address it some way, but I think maybe we could have done it a little differently.
Should, when something like this happens, I don't know the process, I've never been involved in it. Now, does the council, shouldn't they decide as a whole, how did this come before the council? Did the chair just decide, do you just decide to put
I
it on
have
the agenda?
said-
Like I can put things on the agenda.
As a chair, I have said that anyone can come to me and ask for something to be put on the agenda. Because previously, on other councils that I was on, that was not allowed. It was siphoned, if you will.
I'm just curious.
I had brought a couple of things to the previous council, asked to be on the agenda, and I was told no. I was told to meet privately, etc. So my policy was to the council members that you bring it to me, I will put it on the agenda. That's what I did. And then it came to this.
I
do think
brought
that
it
social-
forward, I asked for it to be on the agenda, because I received the verbals, and then obviously the letters were submitted. It's not I didn't feel it was, there's 5 people on this council.
Well, that's why I was asking.
I wanted to bring the issue forward, the complaint forward, not to make it but it's not my decision. So it's the council, so that's the format, I'm following a format, which I believe is correct.
However, you could not speak as a council unless it was on the agenda, or there would be a violation.
Well, that's what I was curious about. I got the letter, it's a form letter, it's very
Yeah.
vague, and it's like, you don't know any clue what the situation is, obviously. I didn't receive the letters from the council, but if I didn't receive those letters, I would have been coming in here totally blind about what was going on. I didn't know, does the council have an opportunity in these situations to discuss in executive session whether they want to bring somebody in instead of, so if the whole council wasn't aware of it, what was going on?
It has to be placed on executive session, and the name has to be present, and the person has to be notified. So they
Our
can't have
our
any
hands are
prior.
tied in some ways, but I think that it was a lesson learned tonight. I know I have.
Well, the procedure was correct.
Correct, the procedure was correct. I didn't know another way to do it.
I didn't know, no. Are you going to allow me to speak at this meeting if they wish?
If they wish.
Here's the question, are you gonna make a motion for this, or?
The thing I wanted to make clear, thank you, the thing I wanted to make clear is there was never, I had never heard from any council member an intention to remove you from the board. That was
I didn't think that
never,
was the intent, I never got that intent from what I read.
okay. That, I just want to make that clear.
It was put out there that.
I do read on social media, and I did see that in several places.
Well, that's a place I wish people that are on
Yes.
boards should stay off of, especially when they're discussing things that,
Yes, I agree.
when we have applications and they're being discussed on social media, it's very unprofessional in my opinion.
That's not on tonight's agenda, so.
No, but it's, well, you brought it up and
Yes,
that's
I
where
know,
this blew
I
up.
agree.
And a lot of things are discussed before they come before the, after they're at the board, and, you know, there's some facts that aren't true and correct, and it's hard that, you know,
Right, and
it
yes,
sets, you
I would like
know.
to-
look for something to come.
The one thing that I would like to add, is I also sat on a council where I several times requested things to be put on the agenda, the ball field situation. And it turned south bad, and it was, would have never happened that way if things were allowed as a group. And as a council member, I come many times to ask things to be put on the agenda and bring them forward, because I don't think we can move forward. Tonight was a perfect example with the zoning official from Situate. That's the first time most of these members actually saw it, other than tonight. So I applaud some of the ways that the president actually runs these meetings, because you get a more open, transparent government than we have in the past. Although, if you listen to some rumor mills, you get the opposite. But I can attest on sitting in both majorities and minorities on councils that I think this one is probably the most transparent this town has ever seen. And I think some people are having a hard time trying to think that.
And you have one advantage over us, that you all people, you all treat each other with respect. And that's what I expect from the planning board, and I'd like to see that in the future. Because
agree.
I don't like the name calling
I
and
agree.
contradictory, and that's gotta stop.
I agree.
It's gonna apply to all members.
Yes, the
As
plan,
well.
yes,
The planner
Did
did
you say that
indicate that
aloud?
that was a problem for her.
yes.
The
That is a
disrespect.
problem. Yes,
It makes it very difficult to run.
it is, it is, I agree. And I've sat at the planning board meetings, and I've seen the disrespect. I have spoken to a member and said it was not appropriate. But
You guys rules require, certain level of respect between members. You feel free to put that on an agenda and have a discussion
Things are
about
gonna-
how people should be interacting.
I'll guarantee you there's gonna be some changes.
Denise, if you're not gonna, if there's gonna be no motion, no vote, I mean, it's up to you if you really wanna take public comment.
do I,
If there's no,
is there a motion?
Nothing to vote on.
if there's no action,
There's no motion, are you satisfied, Mr. Carey?
as long as you are.
Well, it's,
I've always been.
I have as well.
Feel free, you got my number. If you have any questions, if anybody has comments, let me just show you my side of the story. Sometimes there's two sides to every story. okay? So, I mean, the letters I've read, and there is,
Well, look, forget that.
they're a matter of opinion, you know, and if you knew both, you know, the whole story, because you're the
Just so
town
happens-
council, we're the planning board. The
And it just
planning
so
board
happened
has
nobody from the
certain,
council was at that meeting.
we know the zoning ordinances, the ones that have been on the board, we know the planning subdivision regulations, we know what we're doing. And sometimes new members don't quite understand how things work, what they don't understand. Because zoning ordinances are very difficult. You can read one part and then you go to the rest of it, and it contradicts.
Quite a few of us have been going to the meeting show, and we know what you're going through, and just need to go along.
Okay. Thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate everything.
I am not taking anything from the audience. Of course, I think thank you, Mr. Ryder.
Can we expect some
That's good, because that was part of the problem.
phone calls if you have problems?
How about a general apology to
Could
Mr.
you?
Carey
I
from
just-
the entire council?
Well, I pray we can get a new planner quickly, because it's very difficult, because I've been in that situation twice already with our planner. It's not very easy when you're a full-time worker to work without children.
We're hoping. We're not taking anything from the audience, thank
But I
you.
signed for public comment.
That was,
Yeah, you did tell us you could speak for once.
You did tell her that.
I will keep it, I promise you.
I like
could
it.
you please just keep it, Mrs. Ryder? It has been pointed out to me that people did sign up for public comment at this point, so I will say, I will take it briefly, Mrs.
No.
Palmetier first.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
As I say, most of what I was going to say, several members of the council have already said, and I just always support that. Joe has done an exemplary job as chair of the planning board the whole time I was there. I just wanted to bring up a couple of things, and one of them is the fact that this situation happened before, when one of these members was on the planning board and brought members of the planning board up before the town council. And the town council ended up looking very silly at that time. So I think that the council really seriously needs to think about who they appoint to the board and how that goes forward. The board members who did bring up these complaints often bring up the importance of their business experience. Teamwork is a critical component of any successful business. And where I teach, which is one of the best business schools in Maine, we work hard to incorporate those skills. Like listening respectfully, working cooperatively, not competitively, making use of everybody's expertise and working towards consensus. I really, truly think that the board or the council should think about who should have been sitting in front of them tonight.
Thank you.
That's all I have to say.
Thank you, thank you. Do you have something new to add, Mrs. Ryder?
No, I just want to say that I know the entire council cannot sit down and discuss an issue without it being on an agenda. But two people can. And two people should be able to make a determination, particularly in this case. Should it go further or should it not go further?
I think we discussed that, Mrs. Ryder, and we all agreed that there were mistakes made.
And I still haven't heard an apology from Mr. Rogers
Thank
for
you.
Mr. Carey.
Again,
Thank
making
you,
it about me.
Mrs. Ryder. Mr. Savazio.
The crux of my letter was items not on the agenda and discussion of the applicant after they left. And this council never addressed the reality of my comments. My comments were not about anything other. You can't talk about things that are not on agenda. We did. You cannot talk about somebody after they leave. We had an applicant there in front of us, and when after they left, we attacked that applicant. It's in the minutes, it's in the verbal recording. The lawyer was there, and it's not about Joe. You never discussed the reality of what happened. And Mike, you listened to the tape, am I correct?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
As a
And
matter of
Joanna,
fact,
you were
as a matter of fact, Ron,
Thank you.
as a matter of fact, Ron,
Okay.
I did emphasize the point that you were just making.
All right, thank you, and I'm mistaken. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Hart.
Okay, I was not going to read most of my letter, but I would like to read two parts. Sorry, gotta find it. Okay, there was the question about an applicant for a solar installation. After Mr. Servazio questioned the validity of the board member's inquiry, because one of the board members did question the applicants because of discrepancies. So the member then explained, and this was after the applicants left, but that member was being attacked. And he explained to the rest of the board what the applicant had not shared with the board until he, an engineer, had recognized the applicant's omission and questioned them about it. This is relevant to the town in two ways. One is the applicant had not accurately presented the correct amount of energy being produced from their installation by almost a factor of 3. And also the applicant was selling to other towns the renewable energy credits from their project, and they had omitted that from their application, but that would be something which Foster could possibly benefit from. So both of those reasons were reasons that that was not being done inappropriately. The The other thing that I would like to do is to read my last paragraph, because not everybody here has read it. And it says, Mr. Carey began attending planning board meetings at least a year before he applied to be on the planning board. He spent several years on the board before the members chose him to be the chair. Board members felt he was qualified to be the chairman because of his hard work and responsible attitude regarding issues coming before the board. He always comes to meetings prepared. He is open to the opinions that differ from his own. He always listens to other members on the board, as well as to citizens presenting to the board. He is enviably patient. Mr. Carey runs the meeting in a professional, responsible, even-handed, and respectful manner. He has now worked with many board members, planners, and solicitors. He gains no personal profit from his hard work, either directly or indirectly. He, like the other members of this volunteer board, has the best interests of the town and its citizens at heart. And I have confidence the town council will support him in his efforts, and I believe that you have, and I appreciate that. I'd like to add one thing. I would say about once a month, somebody asks me how much I get paid for my job. And I always tell people, you couldn't pay me enough for this job.
It is. Planning board is a difficult board. I was very naive when I started on the council as to what the planning board does, and you all do a great job. Thank you. Yes.
As a new member to the board, everybody congratulated me but you. I've been to one meeting, and what we did tonight to Joe, persecuting him in front of the town council in the town, kind of like, you know, he's in front of the principal. I really believe council members in your own executive session could have called them up and said, Joe, we got a complaint here, this letter, what's the story? And then we won't have this animosity that's going on now.
But that's what was done. That's what was done.
What, right here?
Joe chose to have it in open session. It was not going to be in open session.
That
It
was
was
his
his
choice?
option.
That was his
The
choice.
council can't
Joe.
unilaterally discuss this without Joe, and
And you
if
as a
one,
solicitor that's been to a lot of those meetings and seen how they go, didn't make one suggestion, one for or one against, or what you saw was professional enough. I'm not here to get into it with you. The second thing I want to bring up is, now you've got me going like I want to okay, with Joe in the meeting there, how did some people get the letters? It was on social media before me as a board member got the letter that Joe sent it to me, okay? And then I even know the two guys who wrote the letters, and I never seen the letters for them to show me. And all of a sudden, social media and the buzz out there was that we're gonna get rid of Joe, and made this whole town thing come around, and like, we're gonna get rid of him tonight and make it look real bad. And as of 6 o'clock tonight, everybody come out because we're gonna get rid of Joe Carey. You got people writing sympathy letters and all kinds of letters and how good Joe Carey is. There was no need for this.
Nope.
If this is gonna go on, that's not what I signed up for.
Thank you.
Thank you, and we've
So what is the
mentioned that
council president gonna do about this stuff in the
I believe I
future?
just said that in the future, I suggest that when it's brought to me to be put on the agenda, I need to think about it further than automatically putting it on, and that I would recommend that at least 2 members, or no more than 2 members, meet with the person in question.
I know
But in Denise's,
I can't control
in the
social media. I don't
president's
even
defense,
say anything.
in the president's defense, there are 5 members, so if she was to have a conversation and either reprimand or make some suggestions to somebody without the authorization of the council, I think it's prudent of her to get the full council. So she's trying to be extremely transparent. So to kind of knock her for putting things on the agenda is inappropriate. She's following the Open Meetings Act to a T.
I think the real gist of this was the rumor mill out there. I just got these letters myself when I picked up the packet. Never saw them, I knew anything about them, so I knew about them, read them until I picked them up and read them Tuesday night. But prior before that, if you go on social media, they were completely going in a million different directions. So I think the person knows how that happened. I don't know how it happened, but somebody does. But it doesn't serve the town, it doesn't serve Joe, it doesn't serve this council trying to do their job properly through the right way of doing it. Again, as 5 council members, I would not like a president to make decisions on her own with another council member. I think to some extent, she did handle it correctly within the bounds, because I would venture to guess the person that was out there creating the rumor mill would stop at no means to file ethics complaints if it was done any other way. Because that's how it's operated.
Thank you. I will take a motion to adjourn.
I just have one statement.
I'm sorry, you spoke tonight, so thank you.
Oh, isn't that?
Yes.
Motion to
Motion.
adjourn.
Motion to
Second.
adjourn? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for coming out, I appreciate it.